Orla Mining has finalized its $850 million acquisition of the Musselwhite mine from Newmont, marking a major step in the company's expansion. Now, with this addition, Orla's annual gold production more than doubles, reinforcing its position in the mining sector. Well, joining me on mining.com is CEO Jason Simpson. Jason, thanks very much indeed for talking to us today.
Thank you for having me, Devan. I've been a fan of your online platform for a number of years.
Well, fantastic. Well, first of all, congratulations on completing the acquisition. Perhaps, Jason, let's start by reminding us what makes Musselwhite such a strategic fit for Orla Mining.
Well, it was important for Orla as we continue to produce cash out of Mexico and with our growth planned in Nevada to make an intermediate step into another producing asset. The importance for Orla is it now makes us, a multinational producer. And of course, it will be clear to your listeners that the step into Canada is a premier jurisdiction for us mining folks. What some of your listeners might not know is it's actually a return home for many of us Canadians ourselves, and started many of us at Orla our careers in the underground mines of Northern Ontario.
Now, you've announced an aggressive exploration program, Jason, but I'm wondering, you've got to be confident that you are able to extend Musselwhite's mine life beyond 2030. What do you see happening on that front?
Well, the fact of the matter is that's exactly what we saw in Musselwhite. We knew that we were purchasing a 6-year mine life from Newmont, but it was the confidence that our geologists had that we can not only extend mine life, but potentially find a critical mass of future gold resources that we could increase the production scale of that asset. So it is all about geology for us. We are confident that that banded iron formation in Northern Ontario that has continuously delivered year over year addition to mine life for 28 years has a long more to give. And that will be demonstrated by our drill programs, both from underground and now from surface drilling program that hasn't been present at Musselwhite since 2018. So we're glad to return that program. We will be aggressively exploring both underground and from surface to do two things. One, to extend mine life, and two, to consider the prospect of increasing the material handling system so that we can fill that mill in Northern Ontario.
Yeah, I want to get into that in a moment. But first, just the expectation that Musselwhite more than doubles Orla's gold production. What does this mean for the company's long-term growth strategy, Jason?
Well, we're very fortunate to have one of the lowest cost gold mines producing in the world in our asset in Mexico. But we recognize that the scale of that asset alone wasn't sufficient to grow the company. So doubling our gold production and effectively doubling our free cash flow production really puts us on a different scale, not only for future investors, but also for our prospects of growth. The diversification into multiple nations is important from a risk mitigation point of view, certainly from a cash generation perspective. And those two things combine to give us confidence that we can not only self-fund our own growth in Nevada, building another open pit heap leach there through 26 and producing in 27, but also gives us opportunities in all three nations, Mexico, United States, and Canada, to consider different opportunities that might be present to us now that we're an intermediate producer.
This is an underground mine, though. I mean, not an open pit, which you guys are used to. How does that put a spin on things, especially in terms of the costs of mining?
Yeah, it's important to recognize that the cost of an underground mine in Canada will not be similar to the cost of an open pit mine in Mexico. Yeah. We recognize that, but are very comfortable with the consolidated production of over 300,000 ounces from those two assets and the combined aggregate costs that keeps us in the first quartile of the cost metrics. What I mentioned earlier, although recently we've been focused on open pits, many of us within Orla have not only a history with underground mining in Northern Ontario, but in fact a history with this particular asset. So I began my career in the underground mines of Sudbury. Our COO built Young-Davidson mine in Northern Ontario, and our chairman, Chuck Jeunesse, was the CEO at the time that Goldcorp owned the Musselwhite asset. We have other Gold Corp representatives on the board and management team, and we are all very comfortable returning to this asset that not only has tremendous geology, but connected to that geology is a great group of employees and suppliers that have and stakeholder communities that have supported this asset for its nearly 28-year history. So all of that combined gives us confidence that yes, it is a different mine, but as part of a portfolio of Orla, can be a very successful piece of the package.
Now, we spoke a little bit about this the last time we chatted. You've committed to maintaining jobs and honoring agreements with First Nations and suppliers. How will Orla's approach differ from Newmont's in terms of community engagement?
Well, I think I'll give credit to Newmont. I think they're very responsible operators. They happen to be our second largest shareholder, and we appreciate their connection to Orla. But what we have learned in our due diligence, and since we have closed the transaction, is that we have a good path to follow that Newmont has set. They had excellent First Nations consultation, and they have excellent relationships with the suppliers and employees. So we were really following that pattern with Newmont. I don't think we should suggest that a lot's going to change. We need to conduct our business as responsibly as Newmont had done in our interactions with all of our stakeholders. I want to mention about our Musselwhite employees that are now Orla employees. We're very excited to have them join our team, and we're thankful that they have welcomed us to their team. And we know that together we're going to be able to do great things at Musselwhite in the future.
It's amazing. Since the last time we spoke, so much has changed in the macro environment economically and the political scene as well. If you look at what's happening with the tariffs, the gold price still maintaining its ground. But I'm wondering, since you got this deal started to now, what in the environment, irks you about any changes, if it does at all, when now that you've got this mindset and ready to go?
Yeah, I think Orla is now focused in North America, so that's important to the most recent political and geopolitical circumstances. We have assets in Canada, United States, and Mexico, so the relationships between those three nations is certainly something we'll keep an eye on. And perhaps your question is related to the discussion about tariffs that has occurred. My response to that is, first of all, we have to understand what exactly at the end of the day will be the tariffs that are imposed across various nations. The reality is that tariffs will increase prices for everybody, households and businesses alike. And of course, that is not favorable. But the particular impact to any company needs to be assessed once we have finalization of the various tariffs. For a commodity company like ours, when we produce the commodity, we can process it anywhere and can likely avoid impact of tariffs. But as we're building things and operating mines across those three nations, there could be impacts of tariffs. We'll have to assess that once we have knowledge of what the final tariffs could come to be. And then finally, I say on the subject of tariffs, unlike many businesses, commodity companies can't pass that cost on to the customers. We're price takers, and so we'll need the commodity price to increase alongside with the inflationary effect of tariffs. As we've seen with the gold price, we have a very comfortable gold price. We locked in some of that in the transaction with Musselwhite, taking some of this all-time high gold price and using it to pay for the transaction. So we're very comfortable with the gold price where it is, and obviously generate significant free cash flow to grow the business and return to shareholders.
Jason, as a wrap up, do you see Orla continuing to pursue acquisitions, or really is the focus now about optimizing your existing assets?
Certainly, the immediate focus is to integrate Musselwhite successfully. That'll be a primary focus of 2025. But it is our responsibility to always consider opportunities to grow value for our investors. We are value focused, and we will look to find gold either in the ground or in the marketplace that we can liberate through our activities of construction and operation that gives our investors more access to gold ounces and gives our stakeholders more access to the benefits we produce in the nations where we operate. So the answer is yes, we will always keep our eye open for opportunities, but I think our track record speaks for itself. Over a 6-year period, we've really only transacted 2 major deals. So that's the kind of discipline our investors and stakeholders can expect from Orla Mining.
Well, fantastic. Once again, congratulations on that deal, Orla CEO Jason Simpson. Thanks indeed for talking to us.
Thanks, Devan, for the conversation.